Okay, this is way long overdue. Um, I was supposed to do this reflection for the fifth lab I had last semester, but yeah, I never did because I was just stressed and shit. I needed a break, and then Christmas happened, and then J term is a mess. It's fine. It's fine. It's all good. I'm here now. I'm doing it now. So this was from my fifth lab, which I think was December 8th or 9th, I want to say, somewhere around there. Um, I was with Leslie, Kira, who's gone, um, uh, Jay, Issa, stage managers, Marika, Will, myself, and Tommy came, which was extremely helpful. I read her email notes, which she like compiled extensively. Um, I kind of just want to like go and refresh over my brain everything that we happened and what I kind of learned and what I want to get out of it moving forward. Um, we started off with like a long conversation about investment. I was thinking about Tim Etchell's book, and this will change in the end of the video. But basically, I was kind of wondering how to um, deal with this idea of collaboration or issue of like bringing different people's perspectives and backgrounds into the room and allowing that to inform the work rather than just like one idea, which is something Dan Safer had said when I shadowed him and A when their witness relocation was here, and they were talking about just five brains being better than one sometimes, especially particularly when you're stuck, which is I think what has kind of started to happen now as I'm writing around superheroes and masculinity, which is like I love what I'm writing about, but I'm not really I'm finding it difficult to lean into the more specific either metaphor I'm trying to work with around masculinity or how I'm trying to reposition it in my brain. The other thing, which is I think worth mentioning, is I was reading I started was the Moad's Scorched, and I was reading the preface when she was talking about the writing process, where it was a lot of like I guess guiding or sculpting stuff, which is similar to stuff that Tim Etchells and I think Carol Churchill had done, even though they did it differently as writers, where you're using a rehearsal room to write. And I think it's helpful to kind of keep my brain just locked in a kind of writing mode rather than a performance mode, which is like where I want to start heading down towards this semester. But I kind of want to keep the spirit of like I'm still in process. I'm still like developing a writing practice or like a creating work practice or yeah, rather than kind of being like, oh shit, this needs to be done, and I'm so scared, I don't know where I'm going. So that was where that conversation came from, and I have the recording up, so I won't get on into that too much. But I think what was interesting was just for me to like kind of remind myself to reflect back was that I talked about my investments about superheroes and why this was important to me and kind of wanting to tell a story that I wish I had when I was younger, which I think was like the most salient thing about why this matters to me personally. And it was interesting because both Marika and Kira, who are very dear friends of mine, had said that they felt that what was special for them about being a part of this project was watching me go through this process of like trying to I guess interrogate my own relationship to masculinity and how I want to reposition it, which was super empowering and really wonderful to hear, and very touching, and very heartfelt. I guess it just makes me want to kind of be more inspired with it and keep delving into this, as hard as it's been. Um, this is starting to veer into like confessional monologue, which wasn't meaning to, but yeah, it was really nice, really nice to hear that. Actually, I think it just makes me see that maybe this is worth it. I think the big thing I've been worried about with this project is they're doing this for me, but if this is for an audience, like you want to have some kind of drop in the cultural landscape, as it were, and you want kind of people to be able to just like stop and consider. I mean, that's not up to me, but like that's always the hope. Um, yeah. So yeah, that happened, and then in the interest of time, I started and I rewatched the video from Marika and Will where they were working on the dragon scene, which is we read also to kind of just see if we could like get our brains in that landscape. And then that was the first half, and then the second half we started working on it with the lighting and sound cues that Kira and Leslie had been working on and trying to marry Marika and Will's choreography. And it was really exciting to kind of have all of those things moving together because then my brain was able to like latch on to different like vocabularies and like be able to like create a structure, especially when I was watching the video. And even though the choreography seemed it was just something they made and it was wonderful. Um, now rewatching it and seeing all the moving parts, like my brain is like seeing the jigsaw puzzle of it, and like seeing how I could like reposition it, and seeing how I could like use repetitions or the movements or the changes. So it's an exciting territory, particularly like the stuff that I'm interested in. I think what is missing or needed just to kind of delve into it a bit more is to kind of just maybe lean more into specificity of the bodies that are performing those actions and movements. Is like a white man, so my brain, which is Will, which is like becoming like the dragon figure. But I think rather than just positioning him as a symbol of violence, something that was interesting was and this was Tomi's feedback from the lab, was that I'm not necessarily looking for investment, because she thinks I've done so this is, yay Simon, well done, good job, you're doing it, keep doing it, you're awesome. She said that I've done a pretty good job of making a very generative and productive room, and so it's not necessarily a question of a matter of investment, it's a matter of finding how to create and craft story, which was always the stuff I kind of knew in the back of my mind about how I wanted to do this. But I think it's because I'm not really used to the directing role. And Tomi, I understand she said, make the work, forget about labels or whatever, but I am not used to that muscle, I think is how I would put it. It kind of got a bit better and stronger in Joanna's class, but it's still kind of unfamiliar territory. Like, I'm much more at home, either working inside or by either writing or acting. And because I've been on the outside so much, aside from the writing, it's been hard to like build that bridge, as it were. Which is to say that when Tomi had asked, when they were reviewing the choreography of Marika and Will, and Tomi just asked a simple question for me to ask them, which is, what is the space to them? And I had kind of like had like a vague idea, but then it was interesting because once I did, and Marika and Will came up with answers and we started trying it, then it became a bit easier to help them be more specific about what they were doing, and help me find out different things to try using the same stuff that we already had generated, and then be able to structure stuff from there, and then be able to like dig into like the depth of the work, which was really exciting and really helpful. And I wish I had more time, but we only had 2 hours, and it's fine. But I would like to revisit it. I'd like to keep going. I want to kind of dig into more of the meat of what that moment is, and who those people are to each other, and what they kind of are calling to. I don't want to say represent, but like are kind of referencing in some ways, which is the different kind of masculinities, or the relationship to masculinity and power and violence against the self and trauma, which are all really big ideas. I think I just need to like kind of find if there's like the top of the hill, I need to find like the steps below to get to the top of the hill, as it were. Or like not the hill, because that's like a thing, but like if this is one point on the map, like what are the other connecting dots on the map? Because I don't want to do the Aristotelian thing bullshit, whatever. Was there anything for me? I think that's like it in a nutshell. Because the other thing was like from that, which is something Tomi had said, which is being able to like ask a question if you're on the outside, then find a different layer, then ask more questions in different layers, and kind of being able to layer it like that. And then when it comes to writing, just figuring out what the meat of it is and wanting to kind of go and delve even more. So yeah. The other thing I think is, and I've ordered Helen Kessler's book, is because of this question of geometry, because I even did that unconsciously in my speech, with the like climax triangle peak. Dramaturgically, I think I have an interesting structure of like the fracture and the breakdown, and it's nice to kind of, it's fun to work through that in the movement a bit more specifically. But I think reading Helen Kessler's book will just kind of help keep the struggle of like trying to reshift my mode of thinking. And I think having Ankita, who I asked the dramaturg, and I need to be able to like build my relationship with her a bit more, is helpful, because it's helping me to ask these questions that I'm not considering for myself, because I'm kind of locked into one mode of thinking. And I kind of think I think I'm a bit superficial, which was the big feedback I got from Abhishek's class. It's not I'm superficial, but just to kind of delve deeper and go further into everything I'm doing and everything I'm writing, just to find really where like the guts and the meats and bones of everything are. That's a really grotesque. I do not like that image. The connective tissue is not. It's fine. Whatever. I think I'm starting to ramble. And then I guess, which is why I want to do this reflection, a quick reminder that this capstone is about the articulation of a process, and so the script is a byproduct of that process. So the next steps for this semester are to figure out like a work process that works for me. both in the room and outside of the room, and in relation to all my various collaborators, and using different artists as source materials to reference that, because I think I have a good muscle for generating stuff. Now it's about like structuring and figuring out how to support the work and get even further. That is what I need. But it's also like letting myself off with it because we're doing it. We're getting on. So good job. Well done.